Why Americans must be a part of the process to overhaul and cut government spending. We knew in the day of the internet soon our insane government would get overhauled. Well, the good news, that day has arrived. Americans is part of the process of overhauling government spending. We need millions of Americans to look over our government's needless, wasteful spending. With federal spending bills never having been read, earmarks, pet projects, and other ludicrous spending, we need common sense American thrift. If in doubt, cut it out. Americans in the process. Americans must be a part of the process to overhaul government spending, to create the political will for huge change. Even the establishment Republicans are talking a paltry $100 billion in savings. This is chump change from what Americans will be cutting. Let's look at some real cuts. You can see a website called entitlementman.com/forum. Listen to this $642 billion in savings example with end-of-year spending money. We are now, this is taken from, I think it's Target Government. We are now entering the fourth quarter of the federal fiscal year. The federal government spends nearly 60% of the year's budget at this time because of its use it or lose it requirements. So we can cut end-of-year spending that go to things that I've heard the Charlotte mayor term unfunded requirements, they call them in the federal government. We can save $642 billion just by eliminating unfunded requirements and end-of-year spending. Or how about the person who left the military snoring and requires a CPAP machine? Did you know he is considered by our government 50% disabled and currently draws $900 of your tax money per month for the rest of his or her life, to the tune of perhaps $540,000 per person? So we are giving $500,000 to anyone who leaves the military and snores. Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't that make you feel good? Perhaps Americans will be ending this soon and say if a guy snores and needs a CPAP machine, you're lucky to get a CPAP machine on the taxpayer's dime. Americans probably won't even go for that. Buy your own CPAP machine. Americans will root out this madness. Do you want this guy who's trying to please everybody and just basically is a bunch of hot air cutting your budget? Or do you want Americans via the internet, the people that erected the Empire State Building in 400 days, to show you what real cuts are all about? I think I'm going to choose the Americans via the internet to overhaul our government spending. What if Americans are not involved in the process like is done currently? The incentives and lack of political will of Congress is not capable of the cuts Americans are. Currently, we have the fox in the hen house asking for more hens. No wonder we are going broke. Newsflash, the U.S. is going bankrupt. Paradigm shift number 1. Admitting our government is broken with the wrong processes and incentives, and getting private enterprise to overhaul our government. Constitution, yes, but our government is broken. Our government leadership, like Alcoholics Anonymous, must take the first step, which is admit our government is broken. The second step is asking for help from private enterprise and American ingenuity. Please get past the silly egos. The Titanic is sinking and we must involve Americans to save ourselves. Americans will be proposing many survival ration type cuts because we are bankrupt. And here's a little video to tell us how it's going to be after some major cuts.
Hi there. How are you sleeping? Good? Gentlemen, listen up, y'all. Here's the new plan. Let me put it to you this way, cuz. live on MTV. God only knows, got my mini-me in the GP, see how it goes. Evil's all that I see. You ask me my name? P to the Rizzo, E to the Bizzo, I to the Lizzo. I'm a crazy you all knew that. Austin caught me in the first act. It's all backwards. What's with that? So I'll make a prophecy from the dogs to the mini-me. Give me an Escalade, a two-way bling-bling on eBay. Domino. Yeah. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Uh-huh. It's for all my homies in Bruges. Cristal, my moto, a couple of D-hotches. Why not? I got a buster move, dropping buster groove, feeling fine. Got an evil crew, gold member to lick my 9. Till then, I'll on my butt brands up, put on call and splooge in your app, that's all. For shizzle my nizzle, y'all. Yeah.
Government committees to solve problems? You must be joking. You have heard about Congress being like trying to herd cats. How many lawyers does it take to screw in a light bulb is along the same vein. Bill Clinton's famous words, we spend our time as a country of lawyers talking about what the word is means. So we need to get on past lawyers trying to screw in light bulbs and make some huge cuts. Each party adds ridiculous things to bills. Our current government works at the lowest level of quality possible. If a politician spends more money on something like education, he preaches to America that he has improved education or that he was an education president. This is where we are now as a government. We are a 0 on a scale of 100 as far as quality in government. It's time to stop the insanity. Paradigm shift number 2. Americans are the ones to overhaul spending and government because the right incentives are in place. We must look to private enterprise and the world that works for the correct incentives. Would an insurance company be sane and ask the people receiving money if they want more or if they should cut benefits? Look at the analogy of private enterprise for help. Insurance companies only deal with those paying premiums as to whether they wish to pay these premiums for this much payout. So too must our government listen to what the 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are willing to pay for the emergency ration only. What the customers are willing to pay for it will also determine what the people are getting from the government. It is insane to ask the people getting money if they want more or less. Of course they want more, and of course they don't want less. Stop our government and politicians' insanity. More about looking at insurance companies as a benchmark. Private industry insurance. Do you ask those people not paying your premiums how much they want to receive? Of course not. Do you ask the recipients of insurance payouts if they want more or less money? Of course not. The same analogy can be applied to the government without an ounce of guilt. It is what is logical and rational, and we must use the private sector as our rational and logical benchmark. Without the private sector as our benchmark, everything else is irrational, illogical, and impossible. And because we are not using the private sector in our analogies, we currently think it is impossible to cut our spending when it is far from it. Or we talk in such silly terms of cutting our budget back to 2008 levels. This is ludicrous. We can cut our government spending in half. This is called rational or logical government. This is not class warfare or age warfare. This is called logical and rational, just like it is done in the private sector every day. We must benchmark against private enterprise and have them make suggestions, not assigning government committees who are trying to recreate the wheel with insane processes and trying to listen to all the people, especially the foxes in the henhouse, already getting government money. Paradigm shift number 3. America is the sinking Titanic, and we will go bankrupt if not overhauled by Americans. Emergency bare minimum payouts only is all the bankrupt Titanic America can take to the lifeboats. Sample for Social Security. We're going to talk about some cuts as Americans. We're not afraid of it like politicians. We are out of the retirement business, and everybody gets the same bare minimum. You get 6,000 to 12,000 tops, but I can't live on that, some say. You can by having a roommate. You're in a lifeboat now, not the Titanic with your own stateroom. If you're of retirement age and you have nothing more than Social Security, then you get a roommate. That's what life hands you. You're lucky you got the 6,000 to 12,000 anyway, because we're in a lifeboat now. You make more than 12,000 yearly, you get zero Social Security. Ensure these are the right incentives to not abuse and move on to other cuts. Congressional rep salaries. House of Reps salaries at $174,000 as we are the sinking Titanic? I don't think so. Congress must become part of the Titanic like everyone else in America. They too need to get in the lifeboats. I'm sure Americans will come up with something closer to $50,000 or $60,000 tops as House of Representative payment. And if these people are worth maybe millions, then they get paid. Then they won't get any pay. Your 5% cut that our Congress gave themselves earlier this year to feel the pain is not in keeping with a Titanic type emergency. Your $174,000, I think Americans will take closer to 50 or 60,000 tops, and if you're worth more than $1 million, I'm sure we will probably elect that you don't get paid at all. All government spending must be overhauled. We must make it our goal to privatize, say, 95% of government deliverables that we must have as emergency spending only. We should also look at trimming perhaps as much as 50 or 70% of those deliverables. Why? Because they do not fit in the lifeboat of our country, the sinking Titanic. Like the Tea Party that lit a fire under the establishment, the American people can light the fire under the establishment for huge cuts. No more asking the foxes if they want more hens, but ask the hens to say what is fair in the hen house. Once again, if in doubt, cut it out. Americans overhauling spending in government. Congressional leaders must hire private consultants and get ideas from Americans about overhauling processes and creating the right incentives. Americans creating the political will for change, the fox in the hen house. Americans receiving net income from the government are the foxes. Those that pay net income to the government are the hens. We must listen to the hens or there will be no more hen house. We must also demand that PACs and lobbyists, the foxes, are not allowed to talk to Congress, the hen house, or in the hen house. The foxes cannot make the rules for the hen house. Stop the insanity. Otherwise, there will be no more hen house. Our current system is listening to the foxes. This will change with Americans being included in the process and determining what they are willing to pay for. We knew in the day of the internet, soon our insane running government would get overhauled. Well, that day has arrived. We now want to talk about the background on why the big event is necessary. Why must Americans tackle our bankrupt situation? Americans know their money is being poured down the drain. They are the ones to cut the ridiculous waste. America's dinner tables will tell us what to get rid of and what we should take to the lifeboats of the Titanic for our children and grandchildren. Americans or our politicians and parties to cut spending? That's a pretty clear answer. Americans are much better equipped to tell us what needs to be taken to the lifeboats for our children and grandchildren. Or would we like the powerless politicians and parties to be in charge of our emergency rations? In the words of Mike Myers, right. Let's take a look at the people on the government dole. Someone getting a federal disability, Social Security disability, or welfare may be drawing with the income, WIC, food stamps, and everything else for a total of $50,000 in benefits and living in their own townhouses. Does this look like emergency rationing? Americans will quickly show you emergency rationing and how much these people should get. Americans are the only ones to create the political will for huge cuts. The only people that can cut the government dole from 50,000 down to, say, 8 or 12,000 are Americans. We are about only paying for people to survive. Why? Because we are all in survival mode. Do you think Congress is in survival mode? Let's see. $174,000 in salary, getting wined and dined by PACs and lobbyists, and many other perks. Not quite feeling the Titanic panic here. We have heard our politicians saying we need to tighten our budgets and tighten our belts, but we're not seeing a lot of action. And here's Congress doing a little what they do best, a little talking about it.
We're supposed to talk about all expenditures, Lloyd. We are in a very tight budget. This doesn't come out of our travel fund. Oh. No, I was able to raise 25 extra bucks before we left.
Where did you get 25 extra bucks?
I sold some stuff to Billy and 4C.
The blind kid? Yeah.
As we're privatizing almost all government jobs, what are we Americans willing to pay for those government workers that we're unable to privatize? How about $45,000 for the top jobs? I don't know. That sounds a little high. $24,000 for the average government jobs. And $14,000 for the low-end level, like the analogous with McDonald's jobs. For the low-end government jobs. And by the way, Americans are getting rid of the government unions too. Americans will be proposing many survival ration type cuts because we are bankrupt. And here's a little video to tell us how it's going to be after some major cuts.
Let me put it to you this way, cuz. Yeah. To be. No crib on MTV. God only knows, got my mini in the GP. See how it goes. Evil's all that I see. You ask me my name? B to the Rizzo, E to the Bizzo, I to the Lizzo. I'm a crazy. You all knew that. Austin caught me in the first act. It's all backwards. What's with that? So I'll make a prophecy from the dogs to the mini-me. Give me an Escalade, a two-way bling-bling on eBay. Domino. Yeah. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. It's for all my homies in Bruges. Cristal, my moto, a couple of D-hotches. Why not? I got a buster move, dropping buster groove, feeling fine. Got an evil crew, gold member to lick my 9. Till then, I'll on my what brands up, put on call and splooge in your app, that's all. For shizzle my nizzle, y'all. Yeah.
Americans are an amazing force. We erected the Empire State Building in about 400 days. We are about to show Congress and ourselves what we are capable of again with the big event, bringing millions of Americans together via the internet to solve our cutting of federal spending. What can we do without because we are bankrupt? Damn near everything. What are we taking to the lifeboats for our children and grandchildren? If in doubt, cut it out. We must ask the tough questions to cut as much as we can. Is the spending constitutional? What are the deliverables we must save for the lifeboats? If we save that deliverable, Americans will tell us a fair amount for the survival ration, and believe you me, it will be low. Now that we're in the correct frame of reference in the lifeboats, congressional leaders must enlist Americans and private enterprise to overhaul our broke government. And now, our next video is about the big event. The big event is something done by the American people for 30 to 90 days and will likely continue forever. Congress will be forced with the power of the big event to include Americans in cutting the budget and overhauling government. About damn time. And we want to conclude this video with visit AmericansCuttingGovernmentSpending.com. Go to numeral 5 and begin doing what you can do as an individual. And when you're really motivated, go to numeral 6 of the above site and make your city be the headquarters for the big event. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to talk about Obama and Biden's little choo-choo train they want to buy. The high-speed rail train they think is such a great idea at $51 billion. More likely to be trillions of dollars. Here we are on the sinking Titanic, and Obama and Biden, the only two people in America I think that think this high-speed choo-choo train is a good idea, are starting to ask, where do we put the choo-choo train? Is it up here on the pointy end, or maybe here near the smokestacks of our sinking bankrupt country? Where exactly should our high-speed choo-choo go on the sinking Titanic? This is just so much fun. Where can we put our Obama-Biden high-speed choo-choo on the sinking Titanic at $51 billion? I think Obama and Biden are the only two in the country that think a fast-speed choo-choo is a good idea as our country, the Titanic, is sinking into bankruptcy. And that leads us to the song, Just the Two of Us. Enjoy.
Hit it! This is a very sensitive subject. From the moment I heard Frau say I had a clone, I knew that I'd be safe because I'd never be alone. An evil doctor shouldn't speak aloud about his feelings. My hurt and my pain don't make me too appealing. I'd hope Scott would look up to me, run the business of the family. Had an evil empire just like his dear old dad. Give him my love and the things I never had. Scott would think I was a cool guy. Return the love I have, make me want to cry. Be evil, but have my feelings too. Changed my life with Oprah and Maya Angelou, but Scott rejected me. C'est la vie. Life is cruel, treats you unfairly. Even so, I God there must be, meeting me, you complete me. Yeah. Just me and you, just me and you. Just the two of us, building castles in the sky. Just the two of us, you and I.
Again, we knew in the day of the internet our insane way of operating our government would get overhauled. Well, that day has arrived. A little politician humor here. A vision for the big event. Your leader and city get national attention and will be responsible for saving this country fiscally. City leaders help to motivate a huge turnout of helpers in your city. City leaders get as many cities participating in national media attention as possible. Your city as the headquarters. Better yet, if a large organization like the Tea Party held the big event in 1,000 cities across this great country with your city as the headquarters. Your city will show Americans in Congress how much Americans can propose in federal spending cuts in the hundreds of billions of dollars. 30 to 90 days with your city as the headquarters 24/7 championing millions of Americans cutting government spending around the country via the internet. We have Social Security here as our number one expenditure at $721 billion, Defense at $719 billion, Medicare, Medicaid, all this here. Here's Obamacare, which will probably be at least $150 billion at a minimum, and so on and so forth. So we're going to have great categories in spending order sequence as to what we as Americans are going to be cutting. And here are the type categories that we want to put our federal spending in. We want to put them in federal spending sequence. Category leaders will champion each category of spending. In your city at the big event, we're going to have a leader that's going to champion Social Security. We're going to have a leader that champions defense, and so on for each one of these categories. Leaders for each category will serve several purposes. They will report the total billions saved to the headquarters tent counter for each category. They will be in charge of perhaps 100 people that help Americans around the country in their research for cuts. They will be responsible for everything involving that category of spending at the headquarters and from Americans needing help around the country via the internet. So the vision for city headquarters. We see your city coming alive with people 24/7 in internet cafes or any place with Wi-Fi enabled, doing research and brainstorming ways to cut spending. This will be a boon for your city's economy, and it's going to be like nothing America has seen in years or perhaps forever. We envision other cities around the country having these type gatherings to help the headquarters city with proposed government spending cuts. We envision millions of Americans around the country helping cut government spending during the big event via the internet. So, the vision for the big event. Your city as the headquarters of the big event will get thousands of visitors from your state and out of state. Your city will get national attention and be a beacon for the big event like this country has not seen in decades or perhaps ever, with the millions participating via the internet. Your city broadcasting proposed savings and ideas for overhauls. Local media and national media will report daily on the hundreds of billions in savings Americans are proposing. Your city will cause national attention, and Congress will be overwhelmed and must listen to America's proposed cutting of government spending. Once Congress wakes up to this methodology, this type of cutting by Americans via a privately run website will continue on into the future. Our congressional leaders will get behind this privately run internet site to improve government. Processes and incentives will be changed and Congress continually overhauled and improved. To begin preparations for the big event, please visit entitlementman.com/forum to begin writing your federal spending cut ideas. What we are doing is introducing quality to our government. Who is our number one customer in our government? The American people. With our congressional leadership support, we can drive Congress's approval from something like 10% to something closer to 70 or 80% in the long term. Visit AmericansCuttingGovernmentSpending.com. That's ACGS. Go to numeral 5 and begin doing what you can do as an individual. And when you're really motivated, go to numeral 6 of the above site and make your city be the headquarters for the big event. Thank you very much.